chirp 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 sounds of birds chirping can be heard as dawn slowly arrived. Sun can be seen slowly rising in the east where a volcano is emitting a faint trail of smoke. Word of the village is that this village actually doesn't exist in the first place, but for some reason 500 years ago a dormant volcano undersea became active and that lava created this village. That's the reason this is called Lava Rock Village. Sam is slowly walking through the streets with his shirt on, but two gaping holes can be clearly seen on his shirt and it is completely filled with bloodstains. Only few villagers can be seen on the streets as it is still early. Sam slowly made his way to his house. "Hey Sam, you are back. I was just about to come to that clinic to see you." Michael's voice can be heard from behind. "Hi Uncle Michael, I was already feeling good by the time I woke up so I came back myself." Sam replied, "Okay, you go wash up and come to my house, we will go to breakfast for Robert's Inn." Michael said, "Okay Uncle." Sam walked into his house after Michael left. The room he entered has several dresses hanged and neatly presented for display. There are several other products like gloves, socks, scarves, etc. Seems like this original body is quite skilled in sewing, weaving, knitting, and embroidery. Even in the modern earth his clothes can be considered pretty decent. Let alone in this medieval world. Sam thought as he made his way towards his bedroom. After he entered his bedroom he walked towards a mirror and took a look at himself. Not bad, Sam thought as looked at his reflection. He is a man with jet black hair and same black eyes. He can be considered quite handsome. He has sharp eyebrows and perfect nose bridge, sharp jawline. There would be very few ladies who wouldn't like him. When he smiled it gave him a devilish charm. Sam went to take a bath in his bathroom. There really is no shower. Why am I not surprised? After that he took a bath from the stored water in a large container and left to get dressed. Sometime later Sam went to Michael's house. Then both of them went to an inn. There a middle-aged man greeted them. "Hey Sam, Michael, you are here. Come, sit." Robert greeted them with a smile. Robert is a fat middle-aged man with bald head. "Hi Uncle Robert," Sam replied. "Hey fatty, hurry and serve the breakfast." Michael replied to Robert's with a smile. "Coming." "Sam, I heard you were wasted by a blazing earth bowl. It is a level 2 initial stage magical beast. You are so lucky, you should take of yourself. Luck can't save you always kid," Robert said as he made his way over to the table where Michael and Sam sat. This world consists of magical beasts. Even though humans ruled over the lands. But about 3/4 of the world is occupied by the endless forest. And forests are ruled by magical beasts. "Thanks for your concern Uncle," Sam replied. Robert brought the breakfast and three of them casually chatted as they ate breakfast. According to Sam's old memories both Robert and Michael are friends, but for some reason both of them didn't get married. The previous Sam has pretty good relationship with both of them. After some time, inn is getting full with customers. Both Sam and Michael made their way home after finishing their breakfast. While walking on the streets everyone is looking at Sam and whispered to each other with surprised expressions. "Guess this Oliver put some effort in spread the news I was dead." Sam thought as went to his home. Both Sam and Michael bid farewell and Sam went inside and observed his house. It has 4 rooms, 1 room in the front which is his shop, a bedroom, a kitchen and a room in the back as his workshop. He slowly made his way to the counter and took the leather pouch he left earlier. In this small village there were very few who could get their hands on the spirit stones. Not only they are used for cultivation but also a form of currency. Basically except for some high-level officials and some rich people nobody can get their hands on these stones. The village head issues a spirit stones for the youth who can cultivate until they reach the age of 16. And they can get only 1 stone for every 3 months. Sam can't cultivate, so he has no access to these stone. A young girl from a noble family in a nearby city came to this village with her guardians to hunt some beasts. Since the village has an active volcano nearby, surrounding woods have more beasts of fire type. So, she came for some beast cores by hunting those beasts. The beast cores contain high fire type spiritual energy, so it is beneficial for fire mages. When she came to the village, she accidentally stumbled upon a person who was wearing a scarf made by Sam. And she found her way to his shop. After seeing his skills, she got so impressed she gave an order of a lot of dresses which were currently on display in his shop. For past few months Sam continuously worked on his order that he emptied all the silk in his inventory by the time he completed making his order. The total order is worth a sum of 10 spiritual stones, for which he got a 5 spiritual stones in advance. Today is the day that girl will come for the dresses. Thank God. If it wasn't for the girl, I would have died again just after I was reborn. Sam sighed. Bam! Suddenly someone knocked open the door and 3 young men entered the room. Take all the dresses and search for the spiritual stone. The young man in the lead abruptly stopped as he saw Sam in the room. How are you still alive? Oliver exclaimed. The young man in the lead is precisely the one who caused the original Sam's death. For visiting. Good to see you, to Oliver. Even though you are the son of the village head, you can't take away my products after barging into my shop. Don't you think so? Sam said with a smile that is not a smile. There is a sharp glint in his eyes. He was always a vengeful person in his previous life. Even though he doesn't have anything to do with the previous owner of the body, he at least felt like he should take revenge for previous Sam. How can you be alive? I saw with my own eyes that you got pierced by the bull. Oliver questioned after getting over the previous shock. Well, I am lucky, I guess. Don't worry, now that I am alive, I will definitely pay you back whatever I owe you. Sam said with the same devilish smile. HMPH, what if you are alive? You can't do anything to me. If you know better, you will definitely give me that spiritual stones, otherwise you won't be so lucky every time. Oliver said as turned around and left. Even though he is village head's only son, he can't go overboard, otherwise his father's competitors will use it as an excuse in politics. Apparently, Oliver just got greedy after he learned about the business deal between Sam and the girl from the city. According to him, Sam is just a trash who can't even cultivate. So how did he deserve these spiritual stones? We will see, Sam muttered as he gazed at the departing backs. After that, Sam started organizing all the goods in the room. Some time passed and a few people entered his house. A red-haired girl who seemed to be around 16 to 17 years old is in the lead, followed by 2 middle-aged men who seem to be in their 30s wearing leather armors. Without any doubts they are her guards. The red-haired girl wore a red-colored battle attire and she wore a red-colored armor with a flame symbol on it. She exuded a noble aura as her every movement is made with grace. Even Sam, who saw so many modern beauties, felt she was too beautiful. Sam, are my dresses ready? The red-haired girl asked Sam. Yes, Miss Freya, you can take a look yourself. Sam gestured as replied after coming out of his initial daze. Freya started examining all the dresses, nodded several times with satisfaction. After she examined every dress and cloth, she turned towards Sam and spoke. Well done, Sam, you really are good at what you do. Even though you can't cultivate, you can still earn well if you come to city. What do you think? Do you want to come to Starwood City? I will help you arrange a shop there. You can earn a lot more than here. Even though the city merchants come here to buy goods, you will lose so much by doing business with them. Listening to what Freya said, Sam started contemplating. I really want to leave the city, but that Ling Tian guy said that there is still a test and I haven't even seen the so-called techniques he stored in my memory. I will leave after the test that guy said is finished. Thank you, Miss Freya. I really want to move to city, but I still have some things to do here. Sam replied. That's okay, I will be leaving the village tomorrow. Take this token and visit Crimson Flame family in the Starwood City when you arrive there. Freya offered a token made of wood which has a same red flame carved on its surface, along with a leather pouch which consists of the rest of the spirit stones. Thank you, Miss Freya. Sam received the token and pouch and said politely. Goodbye then. Freya's bodyguards took the packed clothes and left along with her. Finally, alone, Sam said as he made his way to his bedroom and sat on his bed crossing his legs. Then Sam closed his eyes. Let's see what these cultivation arts you gave me, Ling Tian. They better be good, Sam muttered as he went through his memory to see that techniques. Sam slowly started going through his memories to see what those cultivation techniques are. As soon as he started concentrating on the memory, his conscious suddenly drifted into an unknown world where a book is floating in front of his eyes. When he slowly touched the book, it transformed into a beam of light and entered the space between his brows. Then he acquired some previously unknown knowledge. The information is mainly regarding his spiritual core and body constitution. From this information he came to know that his spiritual core is not useless like the inspectors said. It is just somewhat unique. Basically, after cultivation stage is initiation stage, which consists of further 3 sub-stages. These sub-levels are respectively known as initial, middle, late stages. Each of these 3 sub-stages are divided into further 3 levels, which are indicated by numbers. Therefore, the initiation stage has a total of 9 levels. The initiation stage is common for both warrior and mage. In the first 3 levels of the initiation stage, the cultivators don't have to follow any cultivation technique. All they have to do is to collect as much spiritual energy as possible. But after the 3rd stage initiation is completed, everyone has to practice a form of cultivation technique in order to open the acupoints until they reach the 9th level and break through to the next stage, which is called novice stage. The youth who can cultivate up to 9th level before 16 years of age will be sent to an academy in the city to further cultivate. Sam initially easily cultivated until 3rd stage, but his pure transparent core is not reacting with any type of cultivation techniques. At first everyone thought that it is just a defective, even until now even Sam had thought so too. But, now Sam understood that the previous thinking is wrong. The core is completely unique. According to the newly acquired information from the weird book, every core has different properties and abilities. For example, not every fire core will have same abilities. Some fire cores will provide highly concentrated but smooth flames, but some others may produce raging and explosive flames. It can simply be called nature of the core. Similarly, Sam's core also has a type of unique nature. The abilities are observe, absorb, manipulate and convert. These are the unique abilities of the core. And this core has 2 properties. One is its large capacity to store spiritual energy, and another one is it can accommodate any number of elemental properties. That means if other core can be considered as an already drawn painting, then this transparent core is a blank canvas. What painting he want to portray is all dependent on the Sam's choice. And coming to the constitution of his body, it's even more simple. He has no special properties. His body is almost identical to a normal modern earthly being, without any properties of the people born in this world. The body a person born this world carry a trace of stagnant spiritual energy. The arrangement of this spiritual energy is mostly known as constitution, which is highly suitable for warriors. But Sam's body has none. So, both his body and core are completely like a blank canvas, and how to paint is up to Sam's decision. But how to paint is the main question. When Sam thought up to this point, his conscience jolted and he found himself floating in that space again. In front of him there were 4 books floating in the air. There are different titles written on the covers of the books. On the first book there is a title named Bestiary. Second book is Bloodline Refinement and Evolution Technique. Third one is Myriad Beast Bloodline Cultivation. And the last one is Divine Soul Spiritual Sense Technique. Sam slowly moved towards the bestiary and touched. It disappeared in the form of a beam of light, just like the first book. Similarly, the same thing happened to other books. After that, Sam opened his eyes in the real world and he laid down on the bed while thinking to himself. So, this is my situation. With the remaining spirit stones, I can cultivate up to the peak of initiation. But I must completely keep it a secret. Comparing these cultivation techniques to the techniques given by authorities, the authorities' techniques are utter trash. Going through the information obtained from the 4 books, Sam realized something. The bestiary is nothing but a book of the knowledge regarding various beasts. But information it contained is enormous. It contained the origins of the beasts, their habits, likes, dislikes, behavior, abilities, and many other details. One could tame any beast if they can properly utilize this information. The second book, Bloodline Refinement and Evolution, used to purify and upgrade the bloodline of the beasts. Every beast in the lower realms is a descendant of a beast of its superior being, so there might be traces of bloodline in that superior being. The beast with these bloodlines can be improved and evolved into those of the superior beings. The Divine Soul Spiritual Sense Technique is highly suitable for Sam. Because it enhances the observation ability of his spiritual core. Basically, with his spiritual core, Sam can observe the spiritual energy in his surroundings. With the help of this technique, he can further differentiate everything, and range is also high. For example, Sam can even differentiate various gases in the air since everything is made of spiritual energy. And if he has enough control, he can directly separate oxygen from the air. But first he has to obtain wing property to his core. With advancement of this technique, the effective range will increase. Last but not least, the myriad beast bloodline cultivation technique. This technique is the direct cultivation technique only suitable for his core. It is the technique which helps and accommodate the different elemental properties in his core. The myriad beast bloodline cultivation technique uses the bloodline of the beasts. After cultivating up to the peak of initiation, the cultivator has to select a beast and form a bloodline contract with it. And both man and the beast will be linked and cultivate together, and both of them will advance and break through together by sharing spiritual energy of each other. Now I understand what the contract that Ling Tian mentioned. But I have to wait until I reach the peak of initiation. So, I have to check the initiation cultivation first. Sam thought and again sat cross-legged and dove into his memories. But what he's seen there made him slightly puzzled. The myriad beast bloodline cultivation technique is warrior mage technique. Basically, from the previous owner's memories, Sam have an idea about the cultivation techniques. Most of the cultivation techniques doesn't need cultivator do anything other than meditating and circulation of the spiritual energy, but this myriad beast bloodline cultivation technique completely destroyed his understanding. In this technique, he not only has to meditate, but he has to work out while circulating spiritual energy. From what Sam understood, from the technique, he has to do exercise while opening the acupoints by circulating the spiritual energy. This will be difficult, but the advantage the lack of constitution to become a warrior and make the body tough enough to endure the effect of bloodline contract. Sam took the spirit stone from the pouch and started to fill his spiritual core. After some time, the spirit stone's radiance reduced by a large margin, and Sam opened his eyes. When he saw the spirit stone is sufficient to cultivate from 3rd level to 5th level, but now the spirit stone is almost depleted. Sam could only smile wryly. Now Sam has to exercise physically while circulating the spiritual energy. Generally, a cultivator opens acupoints step by step in various body parts one by one, for example from 3rd to 4th stage acupoints in hands, from 5th to 6th stage acupoints in legs, 7th stage for torso, 8th stage for chest, and finally the acupoints in head. But the myriad beast bloodline cultivation technique is completely different. All the points will be opened at same time. That is the main reason Sam was left puzzled. But he just left it for another time. Now Sam has to think about the exercise he has to do. Maybe I can try that training routine, Sam thought as he felt a little nostalgic. One has to know, in his previous life Sam is a super soldier. His training is the most brutal in the world since he has to get results in a short span of time due to his other professions. That is one of the reasons Sam was popular in the military, since no one other than himself was able to survive the training for a single day. Okay then, let's proceed with that, Sam thought, and went outside and started running in the streets. Every person on the street is looking at him as if they were looking at a cray person. But he didn't care and just went along with his run. After running for about an hour, Sam went into his house and directly entered his backyard. There he started his exercises until it is noon. After that Sam entered his room and started preparing his lunch on a coal stove. I should find some body weights. Normal workout is not efficient, Sam thought. Later that evening Sam went to Michael's house. Knock knock. Sam knocked the door. After a few moments Michael opened the door and greeted Sam. Hey Sam, come in. Hi uncle, I need your help with something, Sam said as he entered the door. What do you need? If it is something I can do, I will definitely help you, Michael said as he gestured Sam to sit in a chair. I have some drawings here and I need these things made with heaviest metal available to you. Sam passed down some papers after he sat in the chair. Michael took the papers and started going through the sketches. It can be done in 2 days, kid, but why do you need these for? I have some use for them, uncle. How much does it cost? Sam asked. Don't bring up the money, kid. It's not much. I have a lot of scraps to cover them since they are not that complex. How can that be okay, uncle? It's settled, Sam. Don't talk about money, Michael insisted. After some casual chat, Sam left to his home but was stopped by someone. Just as Sam was entering the gate of his house, somebody blocked him. When Sam saw who it was, he immediately recognized them. They are the two lackeys of village head's son, Oliver. Just as he was about to ask what do they want, he was punched by the guy in left and two of them started beating him up. Sam just fell on the floor while gritting his teeth and not even letting a groan of pain, while still looking at them straight in the eyes with a cold. After beating him up black and blue, both of them stopped. One of them spoke. This is the initial warning. We can't do anything to you in the house due to laws. But we will beat you up every time we see you until you hand over the spirit stones. You better know what is good for you. After that, both of them just left with look of disdain in their eyes. Sam didn't say anything and just silently walked inside his house and slowly went inside his bedroom. After closing the door, the expression slowly changed and the pain on his face is replaced by an intense cold. Damn it, just how many days I have to keep this act? Yes, Sam is acting. Right now, he is trying very hard to act as dead Sam so that others won't recognize anything. What type of person was he back on the earth? Was he a person that will make a small talk with his neighbors with a smile? Was he a person who keeps a low profile to avoid trouble for offending a powerful person? Was he a person that will just grit his teeth and swallow the humiliation of getting beat up right at his doorstep? Absolutely not. Right now, Sam is looking at the village head's mansion. His gaze is filled with hatred and cold raw arrogance. Oliver, at first I just wanted to teach you a small lesson. Then when you warned, I just wanted to kill you directly. But now I will make you regret living. You think that just because your father is village head that you can do anything with his help. I will let you know how useless your father's position is when the time comes. Just you wait, Sam said to himself. Sam slowly went to his bed and slowly fell asleep. After 2 days, Michael delivered the products that Sam wished to make. Sam thanked him and opened the package. After that, Sam took some cloths he sewn for the past 2 days. They are pockets of different sizes and shapes that match the current products he got from Michael. After Sam arranged the products in the cloths and wore them, he looked like fully equipped American football player, except he got no helmet. These are the body weights he asked Michael to prepare for the training. After fully wearing everything, Sam was barely able to stand with difficulty. From then onwards, his training began. Sam closed his shop completely for the following month. His daily routine became extremely simple. Wake up, absorb energy from spirit stone, exercise and deplete all his energy, eat, absorb, exercise, eat, sleep. He just kept on repeating this process for 20 days. All this time, whatever he is doing, he never took off the weights from his body. Even while sleeping, he just slept like that. Finally, on the 21st day, Sam is doing push-ups on his fingertips while the spiritual energy is flowing all over the body while he was sweating profusely. After some time, spiritual energy is completely depleted and sat cross-legged on the floor, reaching out to the final spirit stone in the pouch. This better be the sufficient, otherwise if I have to absorb spiritual energy from the surroundings, I don't even know how many months it takes to open all the acupoints. Sam thought as he closed his eyes and started absorbing the spirit energy. Actually, for a normal guy it would be easy to break through up to 7th level of initiation stage with the same amount of spirit stone Sam has used if he has a high enough talent. But Sam is still at 3rd level of initiation stage. Because for him there are no levels in the initiation stage. He has to directly open all the acupoints at the same time. This requires a lot of concentration to achieve, as it is not an easy task to distribute the spiritual energy to all acupoints at the same time. That is the reason why Sam is also mentally exhausted other than fatigue due to training. After some time, Sam opened his eyes and stood up. He immediately started exercising. Until sky turned dark, he performed various type of exercises. Suddenly, Sam stopped exercising and stood up without any movements while closing his eyes. An abrupt explosion of energy occurred inside his body, as spiritually energy can be seen intensely drawn into his body from all the meridians. With Puff, all the blockages on his acupoints cleared at the same time as an extreme pain attacked him from inside, as if all the muscle fibers in his body were being torn apart bit by bit. Sam closed his eyes, faced the sky and gritted his teeth. Then suddenly Sam opened his eyes and easily took off all the body weights on his body with a single hand. The previous 2 heavy set of pieces were as light as feather in his hand. Even Sam himself felt astonished by this development. When he looked at his bare upper body, he saw a grayish-black matter as covered all over his body. They are emitting a filthy smell. But Sam felt quite pleased because according to the cultivation manual, the huge amount of impurities is an indication of success of the breakthrough to the 9th level of the initiation stage. Sam felt the circulation of spiritual energy is also so smooth and pure. He stretched his body and went to take a bath. After some time, Sam slowly came out of his bathroom and lay on his bed. His body undergone a major transformation in a single day. His body almost contained no fat. His muscle density increased exponentially. Even in his past life he never felt this strong before. He felt like he could control every part of his body and it's so free to control it. Now it's time to take revenge, he thought, and went to sleep with a faint smile on his face. Next day morning, Sam just got ready to leave home in a sleeveless vest and normal pants. His well-defined arms can be seen completely, and with his chiseled chest almost tore the vest away. Sam just locked the gate and went outside. Just when he went outside, he saw 2 people walking towards him. They are lackeys of Oliver. They came straight towards him, and the one in the front said, "I thought you would turtle yourself in your house. If you haven't come back today, I would have just bared in and kicked your ass. Now just cough up the spirit stones so that you can live your life freely. What can you piece of trash who will forever stuck up at the 3rd stage of initiation can do with that spirit stones?" Sam just stood there looking at him like he saw a pig. He inwardly thought, what did these guys see in themselves that they think too highly of themselves? Where would he keep his face if he knew I was at the 9th stage of initiation? As Sam thought up to this point, he inwardly snickered, and with a hint of disdain he threw a leather pouch towards Lackey. Then without even regarding them he turned around and left in his own way. The lackey thought Sam was really afraid and just felt the pouch from outside. Seeing that it was full with stones, he left without looking back with a proud smile. Perhaps he should have just looked back, because just now Sam took the which leads to the woods. After Sam walked for around a half an hour, he reached the woods and went to the previous place where he was killed by the blazing earth bull. The place is still in a mess after what happened last time. So, Sam started searching where the blazing earth bull was now. After intense searching he found something. But it's not the blazing earth bull, the silk moth's nest which Sam usually collects silk from. When he saw the next, he was dumbfounded. Even though Sam knew that the silkworm are the ones Sam used to collect silk, but he didn't pay much attention to it. But now when he saw them directly, he understood what they are. These silkworms are called Heaven Spirit silkworms. They are not much useful in combat, but when they reach level 3 beast, the silk they produce is a very high level one which can be used for many purposes. Even then, this is not their main advantage. The main advantage is whichever type of elemental energy they absorb, their silk and their nature will turn into that nature. For example, if these silkworms are reared in a fire essence filled place, then their silk will be compatible to the robes of fire mage or arrows made for users of fire element. Before I leave, I will definitely collect all these worms and rear them. Of course, Sam doesn't know all these things inherently, he learned all these things from bestiary. Just when Sam is thinking how much money is he going to make from these worms, a sound suddenly startled him. Moo! The blazing earth bull which killed him previously is looking at him angrily as if his existence itself is an insult to it. Sam also looked at it coldly. I was just looking for you and you came to me yourself. As if it understood what he said, the angry bull came at him with heavy force and him directly. Sam instinctively used his arms and blocked in front of him. He skids his feet about a meter along with the bull. The bull looked at Sam disbelievingly. Sam looked at with disdain as he slowly said, "They said you are a level 2 beast at initial stage. But look at you, you can't even kill a guy an initiation stage cultivator. You are a shame to your race." Then an intense amount of spiritual energy gushed out from his body as he looked it with a provocative smirk on his face as he gestured with his hand to come. Bull really got angry and with a furious roar it directly dashed towards him. But Sam stood there unfazed by it completely and blocked it a single hand. Boom! The sound was like a thunder as dust trailed from the ground. At this time there were a group of people passing by, who were alerted by the loud sound immediately rushed over, and when they saw the dust cloud they stopped and tried to peer through it. After a moment when the dust finally settled, they the scene and dumbfounded. A man is standing there with a torn sleeveless vest with a cold smile while his hand blocked a gigantic bull. In front of the bull that man looked like a 8-year child standing before an adult. The scene left all of them stunned. Before they came back to their senses, the bull immediately stepped back and looked at Sam a bit afraid. Sam then released his aura and looked back at the bull with a huge evil grin. That devilishly handsome face and that evil grin made him look so attractive that the newly attractive spectators almost forgot their initial shock. Just when they lost themselves in the scene, Sam suddenly moved. He took a step forward and leapt toward the bull, and just when he reached the bull, he made a fist and punched with all his strength. The bull was in so much daze that it can't even move and took the full force of the punch. Bam! Crack! With a loud sound the bull wobbled on its legs before falling on the ground with a loud thud. Thud! Sam moved towards the bull and confirmed its death. Meanwhile the people who came are talking. "Senior brother, did I see this right or am I hallucinating?" A fat guy in the group said to a handsome young man in the front who was their team leader. "You haven't seen it wrong." Leader replied. "Damn it, where did this guy even come from?" A young man whose looks are similar to the leader said. "Taking out a level 2 beast when he is at 9th level initiation, that too with brute force, that's really something." The leader said with an interesting look in his eyes. "Haley, what do you think?" The leader asked the final and the only female member of the group. The girl, who seemed to be around 17 years old, has an indifferent and cold aura around her. Her beautiful face and jade-like smooth skin and deep blue eyes made her look like a cold princess. Still looking at Sam, she indifferently nodded, showing her approval to his words. The team leader really didn't mind. At this time Sam is already getting ready to take away the corpse of the bull. Just when he was about to lift up the corpse, someone called him. "Little brother, right there." The leader from the group of 4 walked along with his team and called. Seeing them, Sam immediately became a bit vigilant. Because they are not from the village and looking from their luxurious cloths and fancy hunting equipment, they must be some big shot from the city. "Hello little bro, is this bull for sale?" The young leader asked as Sam didn't reply with a smile on his face. "No," Sam indifferently replied and turned around to do his work, but he was suddenly grabbed from behind. "Hello, little brat. It's not polite talk like that, and do you really think you can really reject the option?" The young man who looked similar to team leader spoke as grabbed Sam's shoulder from behind. "Take your hand off me," Sam said in a cold voice. He is actually irritated to put up the act this long, and he is already a bit impatient to continue his revenge. Now a random person who thinks so highly of himself grabbed him from behind. When was he stooped this low? What do you think, you are something just because you took down the bull? The young man said with disdain, still keeping his hand, and released his aura. Acolyte mage. A thought came to his mind as felt the aura. Judging by the aura, he should at initial stage. Sam thought with a smile on his face. Suddenly he moved and grabbed that person's hand and twisted and moved towards the back of the young man. Then in a blink on of an eye he coiled along the young man's back and locked his neck with his remaining hand and used his legs to hold his legs and made the young man kneel. He applied more pressure on the young man's hand, which he caught, and said in a cold voice. "It is not for sale. Do you have an opinion?" Sam said in a cold voice. His voice was so cold that even the beautiful cold young woman looked a bit terrified. At this moment the team leader hurriedly stepped forward and said in a mediating tone. "Little bro, just leave him please. My younger brother is ignorant. Why stoop to his level?" "Humph," Sam coldly snorted and released him. "Next time you put hand on me without permission, think twice, because much less your elder brother, even if your father came and pleaded, you won't be off the hook so easily." Then he turned around, went to the bull. "I am Philip. May I know your name?" the team leader asked. Sam didn't reply. Seeing that Philip didn't reply, instead his smile got bigger. Just when he was about to say something, his younger brother beat him to it. You piece of shit. Bastard, just you wait. Do you know who I am? I will kill you. If you have the balls. Tell me your name before you leave. Damn it, Paul, will you shut the fuck up? Don't you have any shame? Careful, before he could finish speaking, the other young man who was silent till now shouted. When Philip turned around, he saw Sam rushing towards his Paul with a horn in his hand. The horn is the bull's horn. Sam broke the 1.5 feet long bull's horn and rushing towards Paul. The look on the Sam's face is so cold and terrifying that even Philip felt chills along his spine. He came out of his daze and suddenly intercepted Sam by releasing his aura. He is a mid-stage acolyte mage, but even he felt a little startled by Sam's strength. Even though he is not a warrior, his body strength is still refined by the spiritual energy. It is not a peak of initiation could take, but the person in his hands right now is going against the norm. Little bro, stop it. He just spoke in an impulse. Even though Sam got intercepted, he forcefully dragged Philip and took his face close to Paul and coldly spoke. Who did you call a bastard? Say that again if you dare. Sam's voice is filled with incomparable fury. He is filled with just cold rage. Listening to his words, Philip understood what happened. The foolish little brother of his really hit this guy's sore spot. Smack! Just then a smacking sound heard, and Sam suddenly fell unconscious. The one who hit him is the ice-cold woman. She just stood there indifferently after that and then coldly glanced at Paul. Just keep your loose tongue to yourself if you had no capabilities to back it up. If that guy is even a first-level acolyte, you would have already been dead even with your brother's help. She then turned to look at Sam for a few seconds and turned around to examine the bull corpse. Pa! Suddenly Philip slapped Paul. Just because you are from city, do you think everyone is your subordinate? Do you really think pissing others off and losing in a fight is enough shameful? Now you even started pressuring others with your status. I should have never let you play with those noble pricks. Worst of all, you even dare to insult the person who beat you and shown mercy. Damn it, that guy is an acolyte. Both of us would have been dead. Suddenly Sam woke up. He looked at his surroundings and searched for something, his eyes still filled with cold fury. Finally, he found something, and just when he was about to reach his horn, Philip beat him to it and said, Little bro, I know you are angry, but please give me some face and leave this matter alone. This time it really is my brother's fault. Just give him a chance. We can discuss things. How about it? He said with a polite tone. Sam coldly looked at them, and as though he was thinking something, he stayed silent for some time and slowly walked towards Philip. He slowly grabbed the horn and turned around and walked towards the corpse. Haley stepped back from the corpse and looked at him. Little bro, do you need some help with that corpse? Philip offered. Since Sam walked away, he is more than happy to help, and he sighed in relief. Damn it, Paul, will you shut the fuck up? Don't you have any shame? Careful, before he could finish speaking, the other young man who was silent till now shouted. When Philip turned around, he saw Sam rushing towards his Paul with a horn in his hand. The horn is the bull's horn. Sam broke the 1.5 feet long bull's horn and rushing towards Paul. The look on the Sam's face is so cold and terrifying that even Philip felt chills along his spine. He came out of his daze and suddenly intercepted Sam by releasing his aura. He is a mid-stage acolyte mage, but even he felt a little startled by Sam's strength. Even though he is not a warrior, his body strength is still refined by the spiritual energy. It is not a peak of initiation could take, but the person in his hands right now is going against the norm. Little bro, stop it. He just spoke in an impulse. Even though Sam got intercepted, he forcefully dragged Philip and took his face close to Paul and coldly spoke. Who did you call a bastard? Say that again if you dare. Sam's voice is filled with incomparable fury. He is filled with just cold rage. Listening to his words, Philip understood what happened. The foolish little brother of his really hit this guy's sore spot. Smack! Just then a smacking sound heard, and Sam suddenly fell unconscious. The one who hit him is the ice-cold woman. She just stood there indifferently after that and then coldly glanced at Paul. Just keep your loose tongue to yourself if you had no capabilities to back it up. If that guy is even a first-level acolyte, you would have already been dead even with your brother's help. She then turned to look at Sam for a few seconds and turned around to examine the bull corpse. Pa, suddenly Philip slapped Paul. Just because you are from city, do you think everyone is your subordinate? Do you really think pissing others off and losing in a fight is enough shameful? Now you even started pressuring others with your status. I should have never let you play with those noble pricks. Worst of all, you even dare to insult the person who beat you and shown mercy. Damn it, that guy is an acolyte. Both of us would have been dead. Suddenly Sam woke up. He looked at his surroundings and searched for something, his eyes still filled with cold fury. Finally, he found something, and just when he was about to reach his horn, Philip beat him to it and said, "Little bro, I know you are angry, but please give me some face and leave this matter alone. This time it really is my brother's fault. Just give him a chance. We can discuss things. How about it?" he said with a polite tone. Sam coldly looked at them, and as though he was thinking something, he stayed silent for some time and slowly walked towards Philip. He slowly grabbed the horn and turned around and walked towards the corpse. Haley stepped back from the corpse and looked at him. "Little bro, do you need some help with that corpse?" Philip offered. Since Sam walked away, he is more than happy to help, and he sighed in relief. "Where are you guys from?" Sam asked without turning around. "We are from Starwood's Academy, from Starwood City. I am the son of Evergreen Pavilion Head. As an apology today, you can come to my place, and fine, I will treat you to a good meal. The day I come to the city, the day is your little brother going to have a broken arm. If your brother is half as humble as you and apologized, I would have called it off. But trust me, next time if all four of you come at me together, I will still take that arm. There is no person who is still alive after calling me a bastard. I am letting him off easy because of you. You better take care of you brother." As soon as he finished, a shocking scene happened. The bull, which is around 700 kilograms, is lifted up by Sam with a single arm, and he kept it on his shoulder. Just like that, he started walking off without turning back towards his village. "Marvin, what do you think about him?" As soon as Sam left, Philip asked the third guy in the team. "He has brawler gloves equipped to his hands. I think he is pretty amazing. He is suitable to be a warrior who focuses on grappling techniques." The man named Marvin said, "Killing a blazing earth bull while being at the initiation stage is pretty good. Even it is by guerrilla tactics, it's not bad at all." He continued after a slight pause. "No, he killed it with a single strike," Haley said from the side. "What? Impossible. The strength difference is so huge," Marvin said with shock. "There is no damage to any other body part on the corpse except for its head. Not only that, look around. There are no signs of the bull using fire-type attacks. That means only one thing. He killed it even before it could use its fire attacks," Haley explained. Hearing that, all of them observed their surroundings and they realized what she said is right. "We should follow him. If he is from the village, we should try to recruit him earlier, so that our faction can have another expert in the school," Philip said, and all of them started move towards village. Even Paul followed unwillingly. While the situation is like this in the woods, the situation in the village head mansion can't be said to be the same. Oliver is fuming while looking inside the leather pouch in his hand. The pouch is filled with transparent glass-like stones. They are none other than the spirit stones whose spiritual energy is exhausted completely. The leather pouch is precisely what Sam gave to Oliver's lackey. Oliver just threw the bag in anger and started walking outside the mansion. The two lackeys also followed him. They were truly afraid this spoilt son of the village head has never been this angry. After he looked at the pouch, he didn't even speak anything but directly started making his way towards Sam's house. When he reached Sam's house, he saw the house was locked, and immediately they broke into the house and started thrashing the place, and all the cloths that were ready for sale are destroyed. After completely thrashing everything, they made their way outside. They saw a lot of people surrounding the house as they were whispering, "See that? Sam must have offended this spoilt son of village head." This Oliver went berserk again. "Shish, are you insane? He will give you trouble if he hears it." "What if he heard it? I am just stating the facts." "Where is Sam?" Oliver roared at the people. Everyone became silent for a second. At this moment Michael made his way over by pushing the crowd aside. As he looked at the mess, he became angry. Oliver, what do you mean by this? Even though you are village head's son, you are not above the law. Michael said loudly, I will do whatever I want. What if I wreck a commoner's place? Even if I kill him, he should accept it with a smile. Oliver roared. The crowd went into uproar. More than half the village residents are here. By this village guards also arrived. When they heard Oliver's words, they were all dumbfounded. Just as the guards want to make a move to take Oliver away, the crowd all started to make way. When the path was cleared, they all saw Sam making his walking towards his house with a gigantic bowl on his shoulder. When Sam saw Oliver and his lackeys and then the state of his house, he is immediately angry. At this time Oliver also saw Sam, but his expression is different. Seeing the gigantic bowl, he understood one thing. Sam started cultivating, and he is high level too. He understood this because he clearly recognized the bull corpse. That is precisely the bull he used to kill Sam. He couldn't help but gulp after seeing how Sam looked. Before he could come out of his daze, Sam already made his move. Sam dropped the corpse and released his aura. He swiftly moved one of the two lackeys behind Oliver. He caught the back of the neck of the guy and slammed his face directly to the ground. Ah, that person gave a miserable shriek. But Sam didn't stop at all. He stood up and stomped the guy on his back and grabbed his arm up. Sam made his other arm like a blade and chopped at that guy's arm. Crack, a cracking sound came and the bone pierced outwards of the skin. But it's still not over. Sam again chopped and another cracking sound came. Ah. Please, I apologize. Leave me alone, leave me alone. Please let me go. The guy whose arm was broken started begging. Too late, Sam coldly replied, and a scene which shocked the whole crowd happened. Sam grabbed the bone which pierced outside of the skin and directly pulled. A bone appeared on his hand. The guy under his foot fainted from pain. Before anyone can digest what happened, Sam leapt towards another lackey and pinned that guy down. That lackey came out of his daze and he immediately started begging. Please, Sam, please let me go. I will never trouble you again. We were forced to do this by Oliver. Please. By this time guards also came out of their shock. But they don't dare to move. They all are initiation stage warriors. But they were afraid of Sam. Seeing his speed and strength, they felt like they will send themselves to death if they were to fight. So, they started persuading. Sam, leave him alone. This is a crime. One guard said. Shut the fuck up. Where the fuck are you when they thrashed my house? If you talk one more word, you will be next, Sam said in cold voice, and immediately after he finished, he stabbed the bone in his hand diagonally from below the rib of the lackey under him. Ah! The lackey screamed in agony. He tried to struggle out of the grip up, but Sam stayed on him like a mountain. Then Sam directly kicked on the part of the bone which is outside with his knee. The total bone disappeared. Even blood stopped flowing out as the bone blocked it. The lackey fainted. This scene caused chills down the spines of all the spectators. Everyone felt their hair standing up on their necks. This time there is only one thought on their minds. Too cruel. All of them thought this Sam is a very nice person since he is very humble. But now they felt like they saw him for the first time. The devilishly handsome face felt so unfamiliar to them. Sam then got up and slowly started walking towards Oliver, with a cold look on his face. His aura is too intense that Oliver's legs started shaking as he stepped backwards. For visiting, what do you want to do? Oliver looked at Sam and asked with trembling voice. He is afraid now. He never would have thought that a trash would make him this afraid. He regretted his actions now. I already told you, Mr. Oliver. I am going to pay you back for everything, Sam said in a low voice as suddenly threw a punch at Oliver. Oliver flew like a kite whose string got cut. But he didn't hit the ground. A middle-aged man who wore luxurious robes caught him. Nobody knew when this guy came. But when everyone saw him they hurriedly bowed and said, We pay our respects to village head. He is the village head of the Lava Rock village and father of Oliver. He indifferently gestured them to rise, and he regarded his surroundings and finally looked at the young man in front of him, who is the only person didn't bow. Young man, don't you know how to pay respects to your superiors? Another middle-aged man said to Sam from the side. He is an official in the village who is responsible to collect the tax from villagers. He is peak acolyte mage. Sam didn't pay any attention to him. He only looked straight towards the village head coldly without saying a word. The official got angry. Just when he was about to say something, village head stopped him and asked the nearby guards, "What happened?" A guard came forward and respectfully said everything about the situation without hiding any truth. Since so many people saw what happened, it is impossible to lie. The village head's expression grew unsightly the more heard the situation. Then he looked at his son with disappointment on his face. Then looked at Sam and the bull corpse and said, "You broke through." Sam didn't reply, instead he released aura. 9th stage initiation. The village head muttered in a low voice and then continued. "As far I remember, you can't cultivate. How did you do it?" Sam still didn't reply. Village head asked again. He pointed at the 2 lackeys unconscious on the ground, asked, "Even though youngsters have disputes, should you be this cruel? Where were you when they wrecked my shop? Where were you when they beat me up in the village? Where were you when they tried to plot and kill me?" "Don't talk if you don't know," Sam said. "How dare you talk to me, the village head, like that?" The village head roared in anger. He released his aura and started applying pressure on Sam. Sam started sweating profusely and his legs started shaking. But he still looked at village head directly and replied, "What, you still remember? You are the village head. Then I paid 10% of my tax every month, and I have beaten up by these 2 guys and threatened by your son. Now they thrashed my house and he said he is going to kill me?" Village head immediately lost his temper and was about to make his move. Just then a voice came from the distance. "Whoa, 10% tax? Village head, I thought according to Kingdom's rule there is only 5% tax system. And you, a novice mage, is still going to attack a junior at initiation stage because he asked for the tax he paid." Everyone turned towards the voice and saw 4 people in the expensive battle attire. When village head saw them, he immediately paled. And stood there stupefied. Unlike him, all the villagers are in uproar. They all didn't know they were being cheated of their hard-earned money. So, when they learnt of it, they were really angry. "Young Master Evergreen, what are you doing here?" Village head asked. "What, I still need your permission to come here?" Philip replied, his friendly manner and polite tone all gone. No, that's not what I meant. Even I had known, I would have prepared a banquet for you." Village head replied, not minding Philip's tone at all. "I don't care about your hospitality. Just leave right now." Philip impatiently waved his hand. "I will leave." Village head immediately replied and went away. But he is followed by a huge crowd along with him. Philip made his way toward Sam and stood before him. His teammates followed him and stood behind him. "So, your name is Sam?" Philip said with a smile. Sam indifferently nodded and turned towards Paul. "We are even." Then he turned around carrying the bull corpse and walked into his compound. Philip didn't mind and followed him while Paul heaved a huge sigh of relief. He was really afraid earlier. After Sam's ruthlessness, he felt lucky and abandoned all thoughts of revenge. Quickly he also followed along with others. Sam went to his backyard where the well was and dropped the corpse. Suddenly Michael's voice came. "Sam, since when can you cultivate?" Michael asked as ran towards him. Philip and his teammates all looked at Michael. "Hello, Uncle Michael, it's just that my progress was so slow that they thought I can't cultivate. But now my effort paid in and I broke through." "Great, is this your hunt? Boy, you got guts. Your first hunt is the bull tried to kill you?" Michael asked as he looked at the corpse. Philip and his teammates looked puzzled. But when they saw the marks of wounds on Sam's torso, they immediately understood. "Yes, Uncle," Sam chuckled. "Uncle, you see my friends are here, can we talk later?" Sam said with an awkward expression. "Okay, we will talk tomorrow," Michael said and left. "Why are you guys here?" Sam's expression immediately changed to indifferent manner. His smile was completely gone. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this change.